So I got introduced to the trust and I said, whoa, I went to an online, I Googled it, and I saw a whole lot of trust names there. Discretionary, I saw family trust, I saw property trust, and I got so confused. And probably you've done the same, but my friends, don't worry. I've owned a trust myself, and if you're new here, I'm going to introduce you to Pateka, who runs a law firm. She's an attorney, and at this firm, they are able to manage to help you on how best you can create your own trust. And so today I've invited her so that we can talk about the types of trusts that are out there. And over and above that, which one could be the right trust for you. So bearing in mind that within this video, we're going to try to give you as much information, but however, your life circumstances is very different, and you may need actually to just go and consult with Pateka or your Pateka. Welcome. This is the TJ Tribe, and welcome Pateka. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you? Thank you for having me.
All right, amazing. Pateka, like I mentioned, I have seen so many trusts out there, and as someone who's owned a trust myself, I've also gotten confused about these trusts that come up.
Yes.
From a legal perspective, I think people just throw in their seasoning and label all of these trusts. What type of trusts are they?
There's quite a number of trusts out there. There is what we call a family trust,
right,
which is, I hear now they are calling it a private trust. And then there is what we call a mortis causa trust, which that trust is a testamentary trust actually.
Okay.
That trust also comes upon the death of a person because it gets created from the will.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a business trust,
right,
which some people they call it a business trading trust. And then we've got charity trust, we've got employees, like there's quite a number of those trusts depending on what is it that you want to use the trust for.
Okay.
So that's how you can choose on which trust you would want to set up. So in most cases then, we usually have the private trust and the business trust.
Okay.
Okay. So with the private trust, firstly let me say, either a business trust or a private or family trust, or some people they call it a family trust and living trust, which is what we call an interviewer trust.
Okay.
So that is the trust that is being created by the founder during the founder's lifetime. Okay, so within this trust, again, the most important distinction is, do you want your trust to be a discretionary trust, or do you want the trust to be a vested trust?
I'm getting confused already here.
So
if I'm getting confused, I'm just wondering about my friends out there.
So the most important distinction is, do you want it to be a discretionary trust, or do you want to be a vested trust? Right. So discretionary trust, you can have your private or family trust as a discretionary,
right,
or vested.
Meaning what? What do you mean by discretionary?
I'll come back. Or business, again, you can decide if you want to have a business trading trust to be a discretionary trust or vested trust.
Right.
Now coming to your question. Discretionary trust means trustees have a discretion,
right,
to decide on how to distribute the benefit within the trust. So
right,
distribution then to your beneficiaries, you can decide whether you want to select one beneficiary to benefit
right
at that moment, or you want to benefit them according to percentages.
Okay, let me jump in there. Basically, you are saying that if I own a trust today, by the way, if this is your first video about the trust that you are having to look at, we've done our other videos. So go back, check video 1, 2, 3, 4. We are just going in all out on the trust. So coming back to this discretionary, maybe it's a new word for you, maybe like me, don't worry, I got you. That's why I invited you here. Now, if it's discretionary, basically what you're saying is, if I've got a trust and this trust is 2 million, I've worked hard at Eskom paid me, and my money went into my trust.
Yes.
The trustees. So in our first video we spoke about trustees,
Yes.
but we're going to dive in a little bit more on trustees. They can choose. I am giving them the power.
Yes.
They can choose to give some money to my local church. Is that correct?
No. It depends on who you have chosen as your beneficiary at the time of setting up the trust.
Right.
Yes. So meaning the selection comes from the beneficiaries that you registered at the time of setting up the trust.
So I've got 5 kids.
If you have 5 kids there,
Right. One from Susan, one from Betty, Maria, Nomtandazo. Don't judge me, eh?
yeah, no.
And another one undisclosed. Right. So I've got 5 kids.
Yes.
So you're saying that now because I've registered all these 5 kids as being my beneficiaries,
Yes.
the trustees can they just handpick because it's a discretionary.
Yes. The trustees can handpick because the trustees have a discretion. They can decide, okay, out of these 5 kids, we're going to give them 10% each.
Right.
Or we're going to choose that the firstborn must get 50 and then the other 50 gets distributed to the remaining kids.
Right.
So it's entirely on the trustees. That is why it's nice when you know you are the founder, the trustee, and the beneficiary. Then when you...
Of course, you can influence now the thinking of the discretionary is basically upon you now also.
Yes,
as
you
a
are
trustee.
part of the decision making.
Right.
Yeah, you are part of the decision making. Remember again, the decision making has to be upon a resolution. So meaning there's supposed to be a trustee meeting and decide on how you're going to do the distribution. It's not someone waking up tomorrow and deciding that, okay, I'm choosing 5 or I'm choosing 3. So there's supposed to be a trustee meeting. In that trustee meeting, a resolution has to be agreed upon, whereby all trustees sign to agree how distribution must be done.
What if you don't agree?
Then if you don't agree, remember there's an independent person.
Right.
But again, there is a trustee that also deals with that part where there's a disagreement.
I think I'm beginning to understand more and more why people of color don't like this. Do you know why? We've been deprived of our control before.
I like that part because I was also going to mention that if you decide to be a founder of a
Yeah.
trust, you need to understand that you are saying, I'm taking this asset, I'm putting it into this trust, and therefore I no longer have control.
Yeah, I think that's where the problem is. Because I
That's-
think we want control.
Yes, true. That is why the trust it says that you are creating a trust fund for the benefit of your beneficiaries.
Right.
Yes. So meaning you no longer have control. That's where then this distinction comes in as well, where there's discretionary and then where there's vesting.
Okay.
So now we are talking about discretionary now.
Yeah.
So-
Which is uncomfortable a little bit.
It is comfortable for me because discretionary then means that the control that you have is within the trustees. The
Right.
beneficiaries do not have the control. In this case, beneficiaries are sitting there hoping that you as trustees will come up with a better decision in terms of how you want to do the distribution.
I think the power of the discretionary trust, it comes to who has created this trust for you, the trustee. Because if you had to go on the street and you just pick up any guy to just do your trust, and my friends, I'm not punting particularly here. I'm just saying that be careful. So many people have come to me, teacher, I saw a trust for 2,000, but I had someone saying 20,000. So I'm like, choose whatever that helps you, right? I'm not here to judge you. But the point is that basically what you're saying here is, if it is documented well, you can rule from the grave.
Yeah.
And the discretionary, the powers of the trustees is predetermined.
Yes.
So you have actually said this is what needs to be done, and their job is just to follow that. Now, I think that's where we lack the knowledge. And for me, that's why I like the trust, because then it's very clear. And when I'm gone, I know exactly what's going to happen.
It is pretty clear, especially if, again, you go and consult with an attorney, any attorney that is closer to you, that at least get an understanding of the trust deeds. Because my concern mostly is the trust deed must be understood, because people need to know what is it that needs to happen within the administration of this whole entity. Because the administration of the trust is not the same as the administration of our companies. So we need to know. Hence, if you come to me and you want to create a trust, then I'm going to ask you, how do you want it? Do you want your beneficiaries to have control, or do you want your trustees to have control? Right. I'm just putting it in simple terms now, because discretionary trustees have a discretion to choose, right, to decide. And then when we now come back to your vested trust, that's where now most of the time it depends, because we obviously have now to sit down, or you can sit down with your attorney and understand what exactly this whole vesting is all about. Because if you say, I want a vested trust, then it means that you want the assets of the trust to vest in the beneficiaries already. I usually say, to put it simple, is you are allowing the beneficiaries to have an automatic benefit from the trust assets. And then again, that can create a conflict, because beneficiaries now seems to have control over how you as trustees are administering the trust.
So at the time of recording, I had 2 kids known to me, and both my kids were not of age at the time of this recording. And I'm just thinking that if I'm to do a trust, a vested trust, and everything that I've worked for a couple of millions, and my 15-year-old child automatically has power of all of this, he's going to go into crazy.
True.
So and we see that a lot of this in our communities.
It does happen. That is why when creating a trust, you need to know exactly why you are creating the trust. Because it doesn't mean, again, that the vested trust is kind of like, don't do it. So you need to understand why you're setting up the trust, because it can work. For example, if you think that, my kids are actually old, I would rather, because again, the nice thing is, not as much as we are saying that the beneficiaries have an automatic benefit, but the trustees are still there to decide. So meaning the beneficiaries are not there to decide, but they have that automatic benefit. So the trustees are sitting there also to again sit down and decide how the beneficiaries, or how the beneficiaries are going to benefit, whether percentage-wise or whatever. But they don't have much power in terms of deciding or selecting from the beneficiaries. I think that's where the distinction is. The trustees on the discretionary, they have more powers, and the trustees on the vested trust, they don't have more powers. Because should the beneficiaries come and want to find out why you took that decision, then again, that's where this whole conflict starts within the trustees.
My friends, if this is all confusing, so you're not saying to yourself, maybe I shouldn't have a trust. Okay, let me bring you into the other risk that you have. Okay, at the moment, a lot of us, including myself, I had a couple of properties in my personal name, which meant that if I was to die today without correcting that, around about 55% of it was going to go into different taxes. So let's just assume everything that I own is around about 10 million, and bingo, I am dead. 55% of that was going to go into different types of taxes. That's the risk, inherent risk that you have today. Some of you already have businesses that are worth more than that. The bottom line is that if all these fall into your estate, the government is just going to take whatever that belongs to them, right? Now, that's your risk number 1, okay? Then, how can we circumvent this risk? What is the remedy? The remedy is that there is these other avenues of structuring your life. So you can create a trust, you can create a company, and all of those nice things. And basically now we are saying the same 10 million that you have, this time around pointed the ownership into the trust. What now happens to that up to 55% of taxes? It goes away. And some of you are thinking, TJ, I'm not going to do this trust thing. Well, my friend, what is your risk? The risk is that it's either you can pay a couple of thousands to go and do your trust today, or you don't, and then 55% of your estate is going to go to the government. So I don't know you, we haven't met, but if we do, how's it? I'm sure you're sorting that out. Now, I want to come back to this thinking now of, I think we spoke about different naming convention, particularly.
Yes.
And I think it's just names that people throw out to entice the market.
Yeah.
But basically there's two types of trust here. And out of that, you can then be able to say, maybe let me have a discretionary trust, and this is how I would like it. There is a framework. You need to follow within that framework. And then thereafter, you need to consult an attorney. And can I create a trust by myself without an attorney? Is that possible?
It is actually not possible because you must remember there are most important things. I would say, okay, let me maybe correct myself, because at first, when you have to submit the trust to the master, you have to submit the original or a copy certified by the notary.
Right.
It must be a notarized copy. But I see now that a lot of people, they submit the original copy, so they create two originals, and then they will keep one original and submit the other original. So there's a lot of streetwise.
It's vexing us here. You create two originals.
So people, what they do, they have two copies of trust deeds,
Sure.
and then they decide that, okay, I'm going to duplicate everything, then I'm going to be left with the original, and then the other original I'm going to submit it myself. You know, and some people, they've got other ways. I've seen it, but all we are saying is do not try and do it yourself. The DIY on the trust.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. It's never working, because one, you need to understand all these forms that you need to sign. Hence, I was saying the acceptance for the appointment of the trustee has got three parts. In which those three parts, you need to understand, one was who are you within this trust in terms of your acceptance of appointment, and number two is the declaration that you need to do. You need to do that under oath, and then number three, you need to do the undertaking to the master in terms of you being in that fiduciary duty as a trustee within the trust, because you are given these trust assets and you are going to be the custodian of those assets. So again, at DIY, I see people, yes, they are doing it, but again, it's really not advisable because of the fact that there's much involved in administrating a trust than anything else. So you need to understand it right at the beginning when you're setting it up.
So I'm all up for job creation and the right job creation. I don't like DIY. But so here's the other thing that I forgot to tell you about it. So my wife's father he was a construction guy. So my wife, she grew up construction stuff in their house. So there we are, I'm coaching and things like that, and then eventually we got married, and she goes and buy me a toolbox, and it's still sealed up to now. We married now almost 13, 14 years, and DIY is not my thing. She didn't see right there. But here's the thing: if you have to do any DIY, you are putting yourself at risk. You're like being me, going to look for tools and you don't even know how to use them. So here at the TJ Tribe, we're trying to teach you the right things. Find your partaker, she's here, or find your own partaker close to you so that you can find the right trust for yourself. We haven't answered the golden question, which is, so which one is good for me?
My recommendation is
Yeah.
a discretionary trust. Have a discretionary trust so that then you should know, because remember again, you are creating a trust for someone who is a beneficiary. Again, you don't want a situation where you are trying to create wealth or you are building your wealth,
Right.
and then you are not protecting your wealth. Because once the children becomes of age,
Yeah.
then they would see, because they know that they are beneficiaries in this trust, and then they can come and kind of like mingle in and find out what is what within the trust. And you don't want that. You want at least to have a proper structure in place whereby one, appoint trustees that you know they are familiar with trust. Even if they are not
Right.
familiar, they must have a better understanding, or they must be in a better level of understanding.
Right.
So that even if there are things that are going wrong within the trust, then they need to know there's a trustee to first check, and then there's a Trust Property Control Act. There are attorneys out there, there's an auditor and accountant appointed for the trust. Then they should consult in order for them to know how to resolve whatever the issue is, if there is an issue. So when appointing trustees, please appoint people that you know for sure they would be able to look after. And remember, you are going to be the custodian of the assets within this trust. So you need to appoint people that will be those custodians. And then also, you need to appoint people that will help you while you are doing the protection. They need to help you to protect the assets. So yes, it's not for you because you have lost control, it is for the beneficiaries. But then you are wanting to make sure that those beneficiaries, they get the actual benefits, whether they are benefiting as income or they are benefiting as a capital.
I've got a different answer to that. Yes. If anybody is to ask me, TJ, which one is the best one for me? I don't know.
My recommendation again is a discretionary trust. Whether you are doing a discretionary trust as a private trust or family trust, or you are doing a business trading trust, it must be a discretion. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
But again, remember, it's difficult to point out exactly which one is the good one because it depends on the circumstances. Because if for example, you are unmarried,
Yeah.
maybe the conversation will be different. If you are married and have kids before marriage and during marriage, again, the conversation might be different. It depends on the person's circumstances. Because again, also, depending on where you are in your journey.
Yeah.
Because if in building your wealth, you are still on level A, you haven't been on level B or level C going up. So again,
You don't say level 1, 2. It's close to 0.
So yes, it's either you are in the first level or the second level or the third level. Again, it also depends. That is why when creating a trust, you need to know you are not creating it for yourself.
Right.
You are creating it for the people that you are going to appoint to benefit.
Amazing stuff. My friends, you might be wondering why I said I don't know which trust is good for you. Because I don't know you. That's number one. And then number two, I just want to say to you, choose this trust. And then tomorrow it doesn't work, you're like, TJ said. No. We are here to give you the tools. And when you get these tools, your job is to go to your own partaker, right? Or to come partaker and say, you know what, I've got 5 kids. And this is the situation with my 5 kids. I am married or I'm not married. And you can then tell whatever circumstance that you are in. And do you want to be a beneficiary today, tomorrow, not? I don't know. Everybody's circumstances is different. To be asking the same question to say, what's good for me? I think the question that you should be asking is, when can I see you partake? Because I want to understand, because my situation is. And then when she unearths all of those things, she finds the right trust for you. So she's working with you. And by the way, I keep on emphasizing, find your own partaker if you're not close to partaker. If you are, then come through. And within that, you can understand why you're doing it. The understanding is there by yourself. 1. Number 2, you actually know what you're doing. Because for the first 2 years, particularly, I had my own trust and it was there on the show.
Exactly.
So my friends, it's been great hanging out with you. This is video 2 of 12, and it's great hanging out with you. I hope that you've checked out video number 1, and if you haven't, go and do that so that you can start understanding where we're going with this trust. It's a series, so there's a couple of 12 videos that are on this channel that you can jump in and you can learn about trust. And hopefully by the time you go to your own Parteka or you've come to Parteka, you are well equipped and you can stop Googling around and you can start having side discussions with your aunt who doesn't know what a trust is all about, and they'll tell you this thing doesn't work, and that other uncle of yours, the one who's like senior at the bank, but they don't know what a trust is all about, and they are advising you the wrong way. We are here to educate you, get the information, approach the right people, and boom, we will see you on the next video. Parteka, stop looking at me like that. You're judging me. I can feel your judgment. Right?